Nina Mani, Ghana Yurita, Nanari Naisha Turner, Nadlu Yerika Karendi, Tende Nanga, Bukiana, Taupia, Mari Wich Younger, Ghana Mianya, Mani Napudni, Ghana Yurita, Natalia. Hello everyone, my name is Naisha Turner and I welcome you to Ghana country. Today we stand on the lands of the red kangaroo dreaming. We thank and praise our ancestors for this beautiful place we all call home. On behalf of the Ghana people, I welcome you to 2026 Adelaide Fringe and to our country, a land we have cared for, loved and protected for tens of thousands of years. This land holds our stories, our ancestors and our spirit. As you walk upon it today, we ask you to do so with respect and reflection, remembering the First Nations people who walked here long before us.
I too would like to begin by acknowledging that our feet on the land of the Ghana people and pay my deep respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nations people, the true storytellers, the custodians of this land. And tonight, you are all in for a treat. The Voices of Farmers, a love story. My name is Ronnie Khan, and I'm the founder and visionary in residence of OzHarvest. But I stand here tonight on behalf as well of Food Tank. Danny and Bernie, the co-founders of Food Tank, well, half of them are here with us tonight. Danny's flight got cancelled, but we are so grateful that we have Bernie with us. Food Tank's mission is to highlight stories of hope and success in our food and agricultural systems, aiming to inspire positive transformation in how we produce and consume our food. We do have Bernie with us, and without Bernie and Danny, tonight's event would not be here with us. And we are so grateful. It is the premiere here in Australia. And we do know, yes, you are the privileged first people in Australia to witness this extraordinary, beautiful story. And we know that this event is going global. Without Bernie and Danny, we would not be here tonight. So just thank you so much, Bernie. OzHarvest's purpose is to nourish our country, and we do this by making sure that good food does not go to waste. We value how food is grown, and we absolutely believe in the value and educate about the value of food. Tonight, through storytelling, we honor farmers for their work to steward the land and to nourish us all. This evening's love song to farmers could not have happened without some very special supporters. And in no particular order, because they are all phenomenal, I want to thank Aquna Murray Cod, the Australian Conservation Foundation, Woolworths, Shannon Rush for directing and dramaturgy tonight's piece, along with Adelaide's creative and artistic team. Jamie Hornsby, musician and composer, whose music you will hear threading through the stories tonight. The Garage International for this absolutely fabulous venue. And OzHarvest and Food Tank see the importance of bringing together the performing arts community with food and agriculture as a movement. We are so much more powerful together, and food is more than filling bellies. It is dignity and respect. It is about nourishing every one of our senses. Tonight's thoughtful curation of both rescued food and produce that has been grown by our farmers tonight has been created and curated by our amazing executive chef, the OzHarvest chef, Damir, and his sidekick, Jen. Let's give them a hand. And for all those volunteers in yellow who are giving us their time, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You will already have tasted some of that beautiful food we have that has been made and grown with love. We have mushroom arancini, we have Aquna cod, we have focaccia, beef tartare, and we have a tofu dish because you will hear a bit later. Because of the whole algae bloom, we were supposed to have pippies, but our beautiful farmer Derek will tell you more about that. So please don't rush out at the end because there is more food to be handed out. We only had a little bit of time before, but post the event, there is more food. At the bar, you can taste our, as in the OzHarvest upcycled lemonade, and our zero alcohol conscious drink made from upcycled berries. And it is available downstairs on your way out for purchase. And obviously, every can and every bottle means that OzHarvest can feed more people. And lastly, I want to thank every one of these beautiful farmers who have come from across the country to share their stories with us tonight and who truly are the custodians of our land and the protectors of food. Thank you so much also to our wonderful MC, who you will get to meet shortly, Rachel Ward. Enjoy this extraordinary love story, and thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Thank you all.
What do I enjoy about being a farmer? Yeah, the big one is, I guess, dealing with the challenges that Mother Nature throws up on a seasonal basis, and month to month, week to week. Every day's different.
I love farming because it allows me to do a little bit of good in what sometimes seems a really overwhelming world.
I love being a farmer and working on the land because it gets me out of my head. It makes me absolutely live in the moment.
Look, I really love being on country because it instigates a whole heap of emotion and thought for me. Emotion around the fact that before me, generationally, millennia, our mother walked this country.
I was frustrated with the limited amount of organic and sort of clean, sustainable farming products that I could buy, so I decided to learn how to do it myself.
I love being a farmer because it's all about co-creating with the land, working with her chaos, her beauty, her nurturing.
I enjoy working outside. I don't do well in an office.
The reason I love being a farmer the most and working on the land is, fortunately, I'm a person that really enjoys the little things in life, and so no matter how tough of a day you might have, there's always something special amongst the landscape.
Hanging with my cows, hearing the birds, I don't know, just rocks my boat.
I love that I can't force anything, that it teaches me to listen, to surrender, to become.
Whether it's a clear sky with the Milky Way galaxy on display with plenty of stars, or whatever it might be, there's always something to bring your energy back up to really finish the day on a high, and that's something I cherish each and every single day.
We know that the DNA that's in this country is our DNA, and it is incredibly important that our mob understand that, but also share that with others. And so, yeah, it's a gift, really.
You just don't know when you set off on your little buggy what you're going to confront each day. So every day is new and fresh, and you have new challenges, and sometimes they defeat you, and sometimes you win.
Yeah, so they're all of the things that I really enjoy about being a farmer.
everyone. I'm Rachel Ward. Who's a farmer in the room? Ooh, quite a few. Who eats in this room? Yay! Then this is for you. Good on you. Yeah, you must probably wonder what this bloody actress is doing with this lineup of farmers. I often wonder myself. Look, I have a farm in the mid-north coast of New South Wales, a cattle farm, and I look after about 350 hectares. I have had this farm for about 40 years, and I have always employed managers. So I can't really call myself a farmer, or I couldn't really call myself a farmer. I also directed a film documenting my learning of regenerative farming. But really in that, I wasn't much more than a glorified farmhand. But lately, in the last year, I have taken the reins, and I am responsible for my 200 head of cows and calves, and it is completely up to me. They are dependent on me to be fed, watered, to be healthy and content. And also, I have a paddock-to-plate business where I have to deliver and get processed fresh produce every 2 weeks. So there are times when I feel extremely defeated and overwhelmed, and I should have got there a lot longer ago, but I finally have the impertinence to call myself a farmer. Which I do love. Where was I? Hang on. We're all completely unrehearsed here, so I just have to figure out where I was. But guess what? I do have my speech. Hang on a second. Unrehearsed. We've been dropped in the deep end. Thank you very much. Anyway, okay. The other farmers that you will meet tonight are far more experienced than I am. But we do have one thing in common, in that we have all made huge changes. Many farmers who have farmed conventionally here are now embracing the fact that they make their food optimally healthy, while at the same time they are sustaining their land and making sure that the next generation can take over, can also farm. Not only that, but hang on. Right. These changes take firstly waking up to the perils of exclusively heading down the road of industrial farming, and it takes buckets of courage. So please welcome these formidable farming forerunners to the stage. First of all, please come to the stage, Matthew Ryan.
Thank you, Rachel. Hi guys, my name's Matt Ryan, so I'm the founder of Aquna Sustainable Murray Cod. We started the business back in 2010. We're an aquaculture business based in southern New South Wales. We're probably one of the only inland aquaculture businesses growing fish in Australia at the moment. We've been started off with one pond back in 2010, about 130 ponds today, and continuing to grow and growing our beautiful, iconic Murray Cod, which you've all been able to try tonight, hopefully.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank
Please
you.
take a seat. Hannah Greenshields, please come to the stage.
Hello, my name is Hannah, and I am so excited to be here. I grew up in Port Noarlunga and moved to the Central Coast of New South Wales, and my partner and I are both first-generation farmers. We farm on leased land, and we grow grass-fed, grass-finished beef, pasture-raised chicken and eggs, and we sell everything straight to our customers. So we butcher everything on farm, we drag it to the farmer's market, and we ship it all over, and it is the biggest honour in the world to grow food and nourish people.
Derek Walker, please come to the stage.
Thank you. First and foremost, been married 4 years with my wife, right there. But I'm an electrician by trade, I was. I studied farming at Regenerative Agricultural College, which ended up at Adelaide University. Managed a big cattle farm, irrigation. We grew potatoes and maize and corn, and drought about 15,000 acres. We continue to farm probably at this point in time, around about 800 head of cattle, and in a spare time for training young people to take over. Looking forward to tonight. I was told it was going to be an intimate crowd, a small intimate crowd. They lied. But look forward to spending the night with you guys, so thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Derek. Georgia Beattie, please come to the stage.
Hi everyone, is my mic on? Yes. Georgia Beattie, I've got a mushroom farm just out of Naarm or Melbourne in Diggers Rest. So we produce, it's a mushroom farm, we produce about 20 to 40 tonne of mushrooms per week. Fun fact, they grow 1 millimetre an hour. So any organic mushroom you get out of Coles or any retailer will be mine. So we're the largest organic mushroom farm in the country. Thank you. It's been hard. It has been hard work. So I really appreciate that clap. And I am not a traditional farmer. I decided to learn how to farm 8 years ago, and I still don't know what I'm doing, but I give it a good crack. And I just want to confirm, 40 years ago when you had the farm and someone broke some equipment on the farm, did you pay for it?
Someone broke some equipment.
That
would have been me breaking the equipment.
If you're paying for everything on the farm, you're a farmer. That's the deal.
Right, okay. I'm tearing up my speech then. Okay, finally, Matthew Haggerty.
G'day everyone, how are you going? As Rachel introduced, I am Matt Haggerty. I am a lot younger than everyone, but I am a second generation. I feel like I'm like a bit of the youngling of the group at the moment, but definitely I'm the up and coming second generation farmer from Western Australia in the Central Wheat Belt. We have a broadacre mixed cropping and livestock regenerative farm in the Central Wheat Belt, and we're the largest broadacre croppers in a regenerative system in the world. And I have been kind of coming up, my parents are Ian and Di Haggerty, which people seem to know a lot more. They are kind of seen as pioneers in the regenerative movement in Australia. They've been doing it since 2001, so what's that, 25 years if my math is correct. And I have known it my entire life, and it's been a passion for me since I could remember. So for me, it's kind of jumping on board as much as I can and trying to help out and take it and share the message as much as possible.
Good on you, Matt. Now, before you sit down, we have a series of cue cards here, numbered and named to help us move through the show tonight. The first card has our names on it.
This could be trouble.
Can you please read it aloud for us?
Thank you very much.
You have to use that.
What is regenerative agriculture? That is a very, very big question, and it's not always the easiest question to answer because every single person you ask this to will give a different definition. Because there is no set definition about what regenerative agriculture is, which, you know what, fair enough, because it is purely dependent on your context. like no matter where you are, your climate is different, what you're farming is different, your soil type is different. So everything changes, so the way you farm regeneratively is completely different. But I would have to say there would be one thing, if I could align any similarities between all regenerative practices anywhere in the world that you are, I would have to say it comes back to life. I would say the basic core of regenerative agriculture is supporting life no matter what, whether it's life beneath the soil, the diverse microbial life forms that we have that support everything above it, where there's diversity and life of plant species, animal species, and then going on to supporting life within us as humans. At the end of the day, it is supporting life, and I think as farmers, as food producers, and as consumers, isn't that what we want?
That was so beautifully put. You've obviously been, taught this in your cradle. Mum has been instilling what a regenerative farmer is from the very beginning. Exactly. It's probably
my first words, I reckon. It's all that was said around the kitchen table.
Yeah, I'll bet. So,
how about you, Rachel?
For me, it's, in a way, just to get it very clear, and it can get very muddy, to me it's the opposite of industrial farming. So as you said, it's all about life. To me, industrial farming is, there's a lot of death. It's about going along with your spray, with your herbicide, spraying everything, in your insecticides, killing everything. There's a lot of things of getting up in the morning and just killing stuff. And I think that regenerative farming is really about embracing every bit of life that you have on the farm. For me, it's a little bit different because I have animals. So to me, it's very much about time grazing. So and it's about resilience of your land. So even if you are involved in a bushfire or a drought or whatever, it's about getting your land in a condition where it bounces back much quicker. And the time grazing is really about trying to keep the livestock in a motion that they would use in the wild. So they basically eat, they poo, they're like mobile composters, they're the most brilliant creatures. And there they go around turning lignified, inedible carbohydrates into protein for us. So I know they're getting a bit maligned these days, but they are geniuses, and particularly if you want to bring the health back to your land. They just never stop nipping that grass, and the more they nip, the more the carbon comes in and turns into sugars, the longer the roots go, and then the more you build your carbon sponge underneath, and so that when it rains, it gets held in the soil. So everything about it is just magical. And it is kind of hard to explain, and most people are doing it in some way or form. I think that, most farmers in this room, we're all doing little bits of it. And it's very dependent, too, on the area that you come from. The way I farm regeneratively wouldn't be the same as you, even if you had livestock. So it's just very different depending on we're subtropical, we have very long, crazy grasses that run away with us, and that is very specific to our area.
Yep.
So,
Couldn't agree anymore. It's kind of like comparing to industrial, I guess industrial is very much a competition mindset, where regenerative is all about cooperation, having all the diverse life forms, whether it's in the soil, on top of the soil, cooperating together to get a greater outcome than the addition of each individual species. So kind of a 1 + 1 = 10 effect. And when you see that happen across landscapes, it is really quite remarkable, the results and impacts that you do see.
Good on you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Please, can I have Derek? There's your story.
Thank you. Something happened to my mic. Got one of these days. The beginning of when I talked about who I am and what I'd done, I didn't talk about our current company, which is Kuri Co. And Kuri Co is Ngarrindjeri for pippies, and we harvest pippies. The beginning of my story is ancient. I want to share with you the Kuri story of the Ngarrindjeri people. But first I want to play something for you to help explain my story.
This is Rosie Crepignery at Point Pearce in January 1966. Well, what about the song?
Oh, Crobbery.
Yeah.
It's not much, just a little short sort of a ditty thing, you know. Yeah. But we learned when we was kids going to school, and when they used to crobbery there, they used to crobbery, and we used to be there beating the drums and, you know, doing the same as the old people used to.
Oh, yeah.
The boys used to paint themselves up.
Yeah.
Banks Long was one of them.
Yeah.
He was a boy, and he used to paint himself, put bars around the legs and all this. We thought this was the only amusement we had in those days, going to a crobbery on the lake there. You see the lake there?
Yes, lovely spot there.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Night time we thought it was like they're going to a picture show now.
Yeah.
That's all we had.
Yeah.
We were happy.
Yeah. Well, can you remember the song?
One of them.
Well, sing it. Let's sing it.
Pata with the man and Mali with the Nile, Kaka, many charter Malan, Poliana Malo. Pata with the man and Mali with the Nile. I am many charter Malan, Poliana Malo. That's all.
Oh, that's a beauty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think it's nice?
Yes, no.
We thought, well, I remembered that from a kid, from when I was going to school.
Yeah.
I never forgot the words.
Yay.
It was Granny Rose, and that solicits all sorts of responses for me and my wife. But the reason I played that Pata Winema song is because it was sung on the banks of Lake Alexandrina down at Rauken and during corroboree. And Granny Rose was probably maybe about 6 or 7 or 8, and she remembered it. She remembered the song. And the song is about young men going into initiation, and it was the roadmap for them. The roadmap to the ochre pits, the roadmap to the natural resources around on the Coorong and around our country, down near Meningie and around Rauken. And that roadmap and the ceremony and the songs taught these young men, told them what they were in for. It also told them at that particular point in time that she heard that, which is around the turn of the century. There was lots of change coming in for our community. Lots of colonisation was happening. Our mob were being taken to places like Rauken, so missions, and the ability to hunt and gather and sustain ourselves was becoming harder and harder. And around that time that she learnt that song, there was a group from Rauken called the Glee Club, and it was made up of David Unipe. And anyone got a $50 note here? Beauty, hand it over afterwards. But that man, he was just an absolute genius. But he went to a royal commission. So this is recorded in state government. It's in Hansard. And it was around food security at the time. And he spoke about the issues of food security on community, because it was the time of the Great War. The whole country was struggling, particularly Aboriginal community. And what he said at that particular point in time was, okay, how about we harvest, hunt and gather on traditional lands for Ngarrindjeri. So he's talking about Rauken. How about we get access to particular areas on the Coorong, around Rauken, etc. And the government at the time said, yep, that's a good idea. Nothing happened. So that was in 1916, the start of the Great War. In 2016, we bought our first bit of quota. So we bought 1% of the industry, of the pipi industry. So it took 100 years after Uncle David and the Glee Club and a number of other Aboriginal men from other communities had come together to talk to the government about food security. Anyway, we got there after that, 100 years. And when we bought 1% in 2016, but it wasn't just 1% of a natural resource, it was an opportunity to undertake cultural practice that we have been practicing for millennia. For whatever number you want to put on it, some people say 19,000 years and some people say 50,000 years and 60,000 years. But the proof of this is the pippy industry actually went to a quota system. And if you could prove harvest, historical harvest around pippies, you could get quota. We weren't in the room at that particular point in time. But before the quota system came in, we did a dig through a midden site down at Parker Point, and someone really smart worked out how much protein source was in that one midden site. And they worked out, and there are hundreds through Young Husband Peninsula and Sir Richard Peninsula and all over the place. And they worked out in that one midden site there was enough protein source to feed a Ngarrindjeri family for 1,600 years. So when we went to the table with the government about historical catch, they conveniently dropped that. We bought our first 1% in 2016, and we paid about $150,000, and we bought some shares in Goolwa Pippi Company. We now own 30% of Goolwa Pippi Co. We own 22% of the industry, and our goal in the very near future is to own about to share in the development of that industry with Goolwa Pippi and the other fishermen in the Coorong. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Derek. That was a wonderful dive into the Pippi world. Hannah.
Thank you. I wanted to add that actually none of us know what questions are on these cards. It's a surprise to us when we get them. Okay, so my beginning story involves potatoes, lots of potatoes, and it started back in 2020. It's interesting, so we don't farm potatoes now, but my wonderful partner, Tim, and I, so Tim's here as well, we wanted to be farmers, but like a lot of people getting started in the industry these days, there's a lot of first-generation farmers, and that's the same for us. So we didn't have the opportunity of land, so we had to make do with what we had. We had lease area, and we didn't really have any money, but what we had was pockets full of ideas. And so we thought, okay, we're going to grow some potatoes. And so it was smaller than the size of this room. We planted our potatoes, and no one had ever grown potatoes in our area before. It's wet, and in hindsight, it's a terrible potato growing area.
Yeah,
terrible. And they came up. They ended up really great potatoes. And we verified that. They were beautiful. But the next problem was we had no way of harvesting the potatoes. We had no equipment. So what we did was put an event on Facebook, and we said, hey, how about people come and dig up their own potatoes? And we expected, half a dozen people to turn up. The next day, we realised that this event had gone viral on social media. We're talking 4,000 people clicking attending. Shit.
Get the snags out.
So the night before the event, I'm about to tell you something that you need to promise you can't tell the people of Sydney because they don't know this yet. So if you're from Sydney, you need to block your ears. We went to our local grocer and we bought 1 ton of potatoes. We put it into my hatchback car. We stuffed these potatoes into every crevice. And this is a bit you promise you can't tell the people of New South Wales. We spent all night burying those washed potatoes in the ground. All night.
What did she say? She faked.
But then we woke up the next day and we're like, oh my goodness, is anyone even going to come? You know, that feeling before a birthday party. And sure enough, they did come, all 4,000 of them. And there they were, hands and knees deep in the dirt, digging for their own potatoes. And it was so beautiful. The potatoes ran out really quickly. But I think the best bit was that people stayed. They stayed deep in the mud. They played, they were connecting with each other, with themselves. Strangers were talking to each other. And they were connecting to something that they didn't even realise that they lost, which was the feeling of being connected to the living world. And that is something that I love about farming, is it's about connecting to self and realising that we are part of the living world. So that's how we got started. We never grew potatoes again, but it's all beef and chicken and eggs now.
Thank you, Hannah. I think you're in the wrong room too. You should be in the stand-up comedy room.
Absolutely.
Make room for her. Please please come forward, Matt Ryan.
Thank you. These questions are torture. Okay, so my question is from agriculture to aquaculture. Tell you guys about my journey from generational livestock and cropping farmer. Took a risk and branched into an innovative new industry. So I guess, a little bit about me. I'm a generational farmer. I grew up on the farm, my parents and their parents and my grandparents, and been there for a long time. Took over the farm through the millennial drought, and we were, wheat sheep farmers, and right out in Western New South Wales on the edge of probably what you would call the marginal cropping belt, and the desert's just over there, and I think it's pretty much desert all the way to your place.
Pretty much. Yeah, we're on the other side.
Yeah, that's it. And so I did that for basically 12 years, and really saw, one day just had a bit of a brain fade and looked at the hamster wheel that we were on around, buying machinery worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, work our arse off for it, get no rain, pay a bit more debt, wear that machinery out, buy some more of it, and it was just a hamster wheel going round and round and round, and got rather frustrated about it, and also being in a commodity-based industry, a lot of agriculture is very, very commodity-based, and we could have a drought, very little product, and our prices would still be crap because America had a big year, or a tariff from another country, or the futures market was against us. So became very jaded with that, and wanted to move out of. I'm very passionate about agriculture and growing food myself, and the innovation that's in agriculture, but couldn't stay in that sort of commercial hamster wheel, I suppose, for too much longer. Looked around, so we farmed north of Griffith. Ngarrindjeri irrigation area is in the Griffith area, which is probably the food bowl of New South Wales. Massive irrigation area based off the Ngarrindjeri River, and was looking around at what we could do in there, and most of the cropping stuff didn't really appeal to me that much. I'd been there and done that, but aquaculture had fascinated me for a long time, and the two things in aquaculture was the sheer capacity of fish that have a schooling nature anyway to grow volume in such a small space, but also the efficiency of those fish. So most aquaculture is well under 2 kilos of feed in for a kilo of fish out, and our Murray Cod are closer to sort of 1.2 kilos of food to a kilo of fish out. So they're probably up there with the most efficient animals in the world, really, which is pretty cool. So started off having a look at it, looked at a few different aquaculture ventures, then a mate of mine who was a chef said, why don't you grow Murray Cod? And I sort of said, yeah, no one wants to eat Murray cod. No one's really interested in that. And he said, he was a chef, he said, yeah, we'd use it all the time, but we just can't get reliable supply of it. So it sort of got me started and did a bit of research and, yeah, put our first pond in 2010. Been plenty of blood, sweat and tears along the way, and pretty much knew zero about aquaculture when I start. Got on the internet, researched what I could, looked at what other people had done, and thought I could do it better. I realise now that, yeah, I probably know less now than what I thought I knew when I started. Yeah, so took the jump, the leap of faith, I suppose, and moved the family back into the irrigation area, which was not too far away, and made the start with our first pond, and yeah, the rest is history, I suppose. We've sort of been going since 2010 and slowly progressing and growing the business, and want to continue to do that.
As I said, amazing the courage of these farmers to take this leap of faith into a complete different world, move their families, invest all that money, and just pray that they're making the right decision. Very brave. Georgia.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, thinking music. No, I'm putting her on the spot there. But do you have any? Quick, press some buttons. Perfect, thank you. Let's talk about AI in agriculture. Tell us about how you're using artificial intelligence within your farming practice and for who it benefits to. If I had this when I started my farm, I would have typed in, is there anyone in Gippsland that I should be worried about for the mushroom reputation? And I would have chosen another crop. No, just joking. It's a tough time to be in the mushroom industry, but things are on the up. AI, it's really changed in the last, I would say, 3 months for me. And I still am on the fence, as I think we all are, where I think it's equally bad as it is good. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'll share with you some of the things that I'm doing on my farm, which are helping me get from a low base to something that's not only surviving, but getting me to a point where I'm thriving and really understanding my business in more detail than my grower that's been there 30 years is able to sort of process. So we've got this sort of generational thing that goes on in farming, and you've got this nucleus of many, many seasons of knowledge that's in one person generally. And that's a really tough thing to get around in agriculture. And I've been, so in any 1 minute, so just so you know, mushrooms are grown indoors in a vertical farm. And so in each room, there's sort of 200 square metres vertically. And for the conversion, if we're continuing some data points, for every 3 kilos of compost that I put into my room, I get 1 kilo of mushrooms. So, and I don't know what the other veggie conversions are, but I would have thought that's indoors, so that's low evaporation. I would have thought outdoors would be even higher. Anyway, in any 1 minute, I'm getting about 400 data points. And I had just been putting them into one sort of centralised database that I'd been sort of hacking together myself. But now I'm able to piece this together. And so, I'll layer different data sets. And so you think you're growing indoors, everything's peachy, you don't need to worry about the outside environment. There still are factors. Mushrooms grow at around 20 degrees, so if it's 40 degrees outside, I'm competing with that. And so there's the nucleus of if we get one data point, then do this. And that's what a grower does. And so I'm building up my grower algorithm so that anyone can come into the farm and really deeply understand what's going on, why we're doing certain things. Which means that any of you could jump on the farm and start to play around, and you've got guardrails on, no, don't do that, because that's what this will result in. So we're able to get really smart with how we farm on a baseline, but then how we're sort of being proactive with our yield, with our nutrients, all those sorts of things. Another thing that I'm just playing around with all of January is previously, I've had a little bit to do with technology in the past, and previously when I was playing around with robotics, I really had to have a separate robotics engineer that was in a dark room writing lines of code for the robot that I'd sort of had to buy from a different company. And so we're trying to get the robot to move, and there's always, things around the farm that'll sort of just get caught on a hose or something, and it sits there, and then the coder has to sort of go back and work out, how do we deal with the hose? It's not the case now, and so just with ChatGPT, like you've got, it's similar, but it's using different software. I can just use really simple prompts to start to build my hand harvester. And so in the space of 3 weeks, I've been able to build a harvester that's just got a hand like mine, and it's able to turn the mushroom just like a human does, pull it out and put it in the punnet. And so I've been able to do that using just really simple language, and then the code base happens automatically. And so this means that, I'm a smaller farm in comparison to the really big farms in the country, and I can start to punch above my weight by getting efficiencies this way. The other side of that coin is that everything's automated and it's... And we will sort of get to that point, but this is the ability that I'm able to have an action within my business as a next generation farmer, and so that's the reality. Is the way my skill set is now is the farmers that are coming on farm and playing around. So that's what is happening in the AI world.
Thanks, Di. I'm glad you can understand it. I just want to ask you, have you ever had, I remember watching an episode of Clarkson's Farm, and he got a bacteria in his cell.
Yeah, so my farm does it. So the reason that failed is that mushrooms you need to flush the CO2 out. So he had it perfectly in a cave, and they all suffocated. That was a disaster. I love what he's doing for farming, but that really didn't do anything for the mushroom industry either. I'll tell you what, there's all these bad actors.
But he's a newbie. He's giving it a go.
He gave it a crack.
We can't all be leaping into doing it all right with AI from the word go. Matt Haggerty, please come forward.
Thank you. So my question is microbiomes. What are they, and can they help us build resilience in our bodies and minds? These are big questions. God, I don't know if I'm qualified for this one. Like Matt mentioned, he's on one side of the desert, I'm on the other. So this time of the year, it looks bloody dry, and to the untrained eye, you would drive around and you go, shit, this a little bit desert-like. And you know what? Fair enough. It is 42 degrees back home at the moment, and it's a very dry, marginal landscape. Very low rainfall. We have 85 mil of rain for one year, and some years we are super stoked because we got 250. And that's the type of area that we're in. But however, for the untrained eye, it doesn't look like there's much going out there. But what is happening beneath your feet, even in those dry areas, is fascinating. Especially here in Australia, we have some of the oldest soils in the entire world. That's why we're mining diamonds around Australia, because the oldest soils on the planet. And the beauty of that is there is some serious ancient work happening beneath our feet, and what I like to say is ancient intelligence occurring beneath our feet, because beneath our feet, in 1 teaspoon of soil, there's more microorganisms than there are people on the planet. So there is, even in 1 teaspoon, there is so much life occurring if the soil is functioning properly and supported properly. And the outcomes that those soils can have is truly quite remarkable, and the ancient intelligence that those soils have is phenomenal. The way those microorganisms be able to work and communicate with each other, and when you have a diversity of that microbial life within our soils, they communicate across thousands of acres. Our farm is 65,000 acres. Thankfully and amazingly, it's all in one location. So we can have these microorganisms through these bacterial and fungal networks beneath our feet, kind of on these communication highways, communicating whether it be a pest pressure or whether it be transferring nutrients below the soil. And I mean, it's how our natural system has evolved over millions of years to do. Like the natural system's been around for billions of years, and it has evolved such as intricate, complex, beautiful system to function appropriately. So there's no technology that us humans could possibly come up with that would ever compete with that level of ancient intelligence. Now you might be wondering, what the hell does that have to do with me? How does all these little ancient microscopic organisms and how they communicate with each other beneath our feet, how does that affect me? And the microbiome within our soil system is actually very, very similar to the microbiome within our guts. Not many people realise, but they interact and function very, very similar. And if you support and farm in a manner that supports your soil microbiome, that then goes on to create not only great environmental outcomes, increased diversity, plant life, these beautiful things, that's terrific. However, that goes on to create a lot higher quality produce, whether that be grain, whether that be meat, whether that be the fibre like wool off a sheep. The quality of that is far, far greater, and it's a far more resilient landscape. So you are more resilient against climate pressures, whether it be drought, whether it be frost, no matter what it might be. Now, we'll talk about grain, for example, because that's the main thing that we produce on our property. With grain, there is more microorganisms on a single grain of wheat than there are people on the planet as well. So there is so much intelligence happening in just a single grain of wheat. And if you're not supporting that microbiome within the soil, you're not going to be having the beautiful outcomes in that grain of wheat. And the amino acid portfolios, the way that grain is developed is completely different, and it's kind of like a completely new product compared to if you were using high fertilizer rates, high chemical rates, etc. Now, when you consume that product, if you're consuming a grain that hasn't been grown in soil with these beautiful microbiome beneath it, it won't have the right minerals, the right ratios of minerals in that grain. And because when you have a soil functioning appropriately, the bacterial and fungal networks, they kind of act as taxis to transfer the terrific nutrients that are in our soils into the produce. And the industrial systems, those grains from the use of tillage, chemical use, artificial fertilizer use, kind of disrupts that process and turns those microbial systems off. Just they switch off because they're not required. And so they don't get those nutrients transferred in, and they end up with also some other not great things such as chemical residue on the grains. And hence why there's a common story that everyone is gluten intolerant, because every time they eat bread or any type of produce from grain, gives them inflammatory responses. But a lot of times it's not actually the gluten. Gluten's just copying the blame for it. It's actually an inflammatory response to the way that grain has been produced. However, we're fortunate enough we sell our grain to a lot of local bakeries, and people who say that they thought they were gluten intolerant, they eat that grain or that bread from that grain, and all of a sudden they're not gluten intolerant anymore, which is magical. And so when you eat a product that supports your internal gut microbiome, your whole body flourishes. The entirety of our human physical and mental health relates all the way back to our internal gut health. Most of our hormones are developed within our gut lining, and that affects shitloads pretty much, like your entire body. Like you think of, for example, I think it's like 80%, don't quote me on the numbers, 50 or 80% of your dopamine is developed within your gut lining. So if you're not eating a product that is nourishing and nurturing your gut microbiome, what kind of effect that's having to the rest of your body, such as dopamine, for example? That's a feel-good hormone. So if you're not producing that within your gut, you're probably not getting your feel-good hormone. All of a sudden, you're not too happy with life at the moment. And there's just the ripple effect from not nurturing your gut health, from the produce that you're eating, to your overall physical and mental well-being is phenomenal. So yes, when you're walking across the soil, the life that is happening beneath your feet is remarkable. Humans know bugger all about what is occurring, but the bugger all that we do know so far is already mind-blowing, and we can't fathom to understand what its true power is. But we do know that if you nurture it and you eat the produce from that nurtured soil and that nurtured soil microbiome, you're going to create healthier, happier people. Thanks.
Wow. Well, if I wasn't already convinced to be a regenerative farmer, I certainly would now. Well done, Matt. Tell me, is it true that your dad invented an application that when you put the seed in the ground, it goes in with a squirt of your magical mixture?
Yeah, so Mum and Dad have spent millions of dollars on R&D over the years to farm. We have a very large broadacre farm at 65,000 acres, so to farm in a way that harnesses the natural intelligence of our system and to support the natural systems, but still be able to utilise modern technology and efficiencies, we've had to make some adjustments. So yeah, I don't know if he really invented it, like liquid inject systems. So we, instead of using artificial fertilisers, we utilise a diverse microbial compost extract. So we extract the nutrients and diverse microbial life out of a compost into a liquid, and then we put that down with the seed when planting to try and support that seed in its initial stage of life, because sometimes a lot of the farms that we've taken have been very ran down and depleted, and they have innate microbes within their soils, but they're kind of dormant. So we're just trying to give it every bit of support that we can with this compost extract as a diversity of microbes to just kickstart on, help it on its journey, and then it starts awakening the native microbes within the soil, and they all start functioning beautifully.
Unbelievable. And I hear too that the Western Australian government has been giving land to your mum and dad because they have basically washed their hand of it. There's nothing that they can do with it, and it was, and they wanted them to take it on and revive it. Is that true?
Not the government. No, we haven't had any land given to us, unfortunately. That would be nice because land is bloody expensive. No, but we do get. We have had many farmers approach us saying, "Do you want to buy our farm?" Because they're getting out, which is a very common story you see around farmers getting out. It's too hard. So we have had many farmers approach us saying, "Will you buy a farm? We're getting out, but we love what you guys are doing. We'd love to see you take it on." But no, unfortunately, no free land.
Right. Okay. Derek and Matt Ryan.
Righto. We're up, big fella. I got the card, so you get to go first. All right. So the question: disaster is inevitable in farming. True. Flood, fire, drought, pandemic, or algal bloom. How do you bounce back from despair? Fire away, mate.
It's a tough one. 17th of June, we were told that we couldn't harvest any more kuri, pippies, because of the algal bloom was causing toxic levels to start to be dangerous. And so we were out since then, and we've been out for that whole time, and it's caused us great concern. The bloom was the size of about, for people from South Australia, the size of Kangaroo Island. There was a particular bloom inside that great big algal bloom, which was caused by... there was a lot of nutrient coming out through the flood about 2 years ago. There was still water and warm water, and the algal bloom took off. And so they shut us down on June the 17th. And what do you do if that's your industry? How do you survive? We've been out for 8 months. About 2 weeks ago, the levels, the toxic level has dropped to below 0.8, which is about where we can go again. So it's set at 0.8 by the World Health Organization. Through this whole process, we've been eating kuri, pippies, and no one's been getting crook. So but it's been a tough go, but we've got to the point where we can harvest. We harvest for bait at the moment, but we're keen to get back the food. When we got into the goodie industry, we were selling for a kilo somewhere between 50 cents and $2. So it was predominantly bait. Our mob never used goodie for bait. It was always a protein source. And the push around 10 years ago was to get it into the food market. The Sydney fish market is a big food market for us. Lots of Asian people that buy kuri, and also restaurants here in South Australia. From that 50 cents, between 50 cents and $2 in 2015 to last year, we hit $71 a kilo. And so, from a Ngarrindjeri perspective, it's always been a protein source. Certainly from, in the Asian mob in New South Wales, they're big buyers of clams. We see in Melbourne there's a significant population of Italian and Greek people that buy clams, and amazingly, the broader community is turning on to the benefits of kuri, and we're seeing volumes going into South Australia and other states. We're the biggest producers of Rachel of processed clams in the country, and we're keen to continue that. Just this algal bloom thing that has come around, we believe, it's caused by rising temperatures, climate change, and we've seen, and those things coming together caused the difficulty. But we're back in the water now, and we're looking forward to a good season.
Oh. Cool. Thanks, mate. So for us, the bounce back from despair was mainly the global pandemic, or the COVID-19 pandemic. We were at that stage, 2019, we had 20 ponds of fish. Our markets were probably 80 to 90% restaurant trade, and 10% to 20% domestic sort of retail space. I remember it vividly. I was away camping with my kids, and we were coming home and talking about locking down the state and all that sort of stuff, and businesses having to close, and probably didn't give it a lot of thought there and then at the moment. And then, a couple of days later, started thinking about it, and all these restaurants closed down, and that's 90% of our market. So what do? We had all of our ponds full of big fish, so we have different sort of sales sizes. So we grow the fish out to sort of 2.5, 3 kilos. That's the restaurant size fish. And then the smaller fish are more for the retail space. So we were, I guess, poised to make a killing and try and take advantage of the restaurants that we had going. And then within 2 weeks, that went to zero. So our sales went from 6-7 tonne a week to scratching up 400 or 500 kilos at a time. So I had a bit of a think about it and tried to work out what we're going to do. We've got all these fish at the time. They were saying, we all went through it. They couldn't give us a timeline, and it was a year or 2 years or who knows what. The talk on the town was a lot of the restaurants would never open again. And so we started to think about how we're going to solve that. So we, pivoted a little bit and realised that our retail customers were all taking smaller fish. So we were able to maintain our large fish in the ponds and grow any smaller fish we had coming through and remove them, and allow space for the bigger fish to hold those bigger fish, over time. You have to clean up Rachel's mess here. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, darling.
We'll put her in a taxi shortly. And anyway, so it was a fair drama, but we were able to, get through that. That has created challenges further on because we sold all of our small fish through that time because people were staying home and wanted to take home a fish and sell or cook that small fish for themselves, and no one was really interested in a big fish. Then the pandemic stopped and we weren't really sure what was going to happen with the restaurant trade, but it came back at probably 200% of what it was pre-COVID, which was great, except then now we didn't have enough big fish. And then we didn't have enough small fish because I sold all them coming through to replace the big fish. So we had to put all of our customers on quota, and we recognised that reasonably quickly, and it really probably cost us 2 to 3 years of development in the business. But yeah, I guess it proves that farmers are amazingly adaptable people, and really no matter what you throw at them, we'll find a way to make it work and continue to grow food. So, yeah.
Uh-oh, this one is for me. Take a look at the image on the screen behind you. Tell us about your memory from that day. Right. So this was in 2019, and it was when the fires first hit. They started right near where I live, and so we didn't have a history of the fires coming down and what had gone before, and we just felt, it's just a bushfire. It'll be over in moments. We'd never burnt before. I'd been there, as I said earlier, for 40 years, never had a big bush burn. And I was at the beach that day. I was on my own up at the farm, and I came back, and first of all, you could smell the smell of burning from miles away. And then it had been the most brilliant blue day, and then you could slowly see this yellowing of everything as you came towards it. And nothing prepares you really for that, how extraordinary it is when nature gets her head and just nothing will stop it. The helplessness you feel in the face of that enormity is, I've never felt anything like that before, of just not being completely out of control about where this was going to go and what was going to happen. So actually the day when we burnt, it wasn't as stunning really and we did burn, and all our perimeter fences went, and all our forests went around the edge of the farm. My neighbour's house up the road went in the night, and it wasn't really until about a few days later, when you're just encapsulated in this sort of apocalyptic, smouldering, sulfur-filled gloom, that you kind of go, this is really odd. And strangely, it was very silent. There were no birds screeching out of the trees or anything. It was just this sort of deathly silence and this faint roaring in the background of the fire. And I didn't really think that I knew the stock was okay because we'd been in drought for a very, very long time, and we really had no grass left, and so they'd nibbled it down pretty close to the soil. So I knew that wasn't going to go up, and I knew that the fire would just trickle through all of the fields. So it was really just it was after it just didn't stop, and I was sort of I was having sort of mental health issues up to that point anyway, and I had been sort of leaving the entertainment industry, or rather the entertainment industry was sort of leaving me, and there's definitely a point where you have a use-by date, and it's very ageist in the industry. And I was 7 years without being able to get work, and I was, I knew I had to move forward. I didn't really know how or where or what I was going to do. The children had left home, and so I was sort of stuck in this no man's land of not knowing where to turn. And when this fire happened, it was a catalyst, really. The burning of it was, in the end, very much about rebirth. That was the outcome of it all in the end. You know, terrible destruction, awful for the animals. But in many ways, a lot of us were woken up by this catastrophe. A lot of us were shaken badly. And they say that for you to make a big change, you really have to hit rock bottom. And you have to sort of experience that depth of despair. And I definitely got to that place. And it was, you know, there was a long period where you just were in this murk, this gloom. And then slowly, slowly, the grass started to reappear, and quite soon the trees started to regenerate, and their little leaves popped out of all the trunks. And it was really, in the end, a very rejuvenating experience. And with that land, I think I just grew out of it as well. I just came back to life. And it was just, I suppose, it put me so in sync with what had gone on in these pastures around me and the forest around me and the rebirth of that. And it was kind of extraordinary. I just felt very reborn after it. And it was really shortly after that that I read Charles Massey's book and Call of the Reed Warbler. And he really mapped out a way forward for a different type of management. Because clearly, yes, it was a bushfire. It was a massive bushfire. And, you know, the blame was largely put on climate change and the fact that we had these temperatures and we had this enormous drought. You know, I think that's debatable, really. How really much was climate change responsible? It was just one of those seasons where everything was just shriveled up, and we were ripe for a big fire. And we had enormous growth in the forest too, so that was ready to go. But I definitely felt impotent at that point to do anything. What do you do with this climate change? What do we do individually other than recycle? Or I didn't seem to have enough agency to really weigh in to this tragedy, to this thing that was, you know, going to affect not really so much me, but my grandchildren who were just coming along. And it was really Charles Massey's book that made me see it is largely about management. There is things we can do that are not going to stop those fires, but where it is powerful is that when you farm regeneratively, it is all about building your carbon sponge. And when you build your carbon sponge, you hold water in the soil. So after an event like this, your ground is resilient and it pops back very quickly. I mean, this was the beginning of my regenerative journey, so I didn't particularly see it on my land. But he definitely describes it very well in Call of the Reed Warbler. And I was a convert really after that, and I went, right, I don't need to be impotent. I can be powerful in 3 ways. I'm a film director. I can make a film about this, about regenerative farming. I can change the way I farm on my farm, which I'd paid very little attention to, and I was very unaware how culpable farmers were for land degradation. And also, I could be, as a consumer, I could buy in sync with my values. So if I was calling myself an environmentalist or someone who was very, very, really wanted to see more sustainability in the way that we managed our land, and so that it could go to future generations, I yeah, I just, I was given a way forward to do this. And so then I felt incredibly empowered. And I went to make the film, Rachel's Farm, which was about my stumbling along to become a regenerative farmer. So in a way, the fires came along for all of their tragedy and for all of their destruction. For me, it was about rebirth, and it was about being shaken out of complacency and really trying to direct myself into a path that was positive rather than negative. Thank you, Rachel. Georgia and Hannah.
I'm going to ask this question so that you have to answer first.
Go for it.
How do you define success?
Is there any, have you got the thinking music yet, or? Thank you. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. So on my farm, our success is what do the kids, so I employ mostly women, and what do their kids think of their mum's job and her career? And so that's the data point. A lot of my employees are first-generation Australians. This might even be their first job. They may not have been working in their country. And so there's a lot that happens when they become financially independent. And there's a big sort of transition in terms of contribution at home. But then we sort of make sure we have the harvest hours, so that around pickups and drop-offs and things, and the harvest team decide, if they're prioritising pickups or drop-offs, and you can do that with our crop, and you can just time it. We harvest every day, so we've got different teams, and so traditionally farming, we measure our yield, our quality, making sure there's no disease. But for me, I'm more interested, if you go beneath all of those, it's almost like, what are the lead and lag indicators? The lag indicator is the yield. The lead is how happy my staff are. And with women, if their families are happy, that's the ultimate data point. And that's the thing that I want to be doing for my community. So it's a weird one, but that's what I'm doing. Tell me.
Yeah, I resonate with that a lot, because I think for me success, it's about freedom, but that's in our head. Freedom is in our mindset, and for me to have that healthy mindset is to be around people that I love being around every day, and that's our team. So we've built a team from just Tim and I. We're now 15 people around us as well.
Bearing the potatoes.
Yeah. No more potatoes. But they're all actually, none of them have farmed before either. They're mostly women. We've got a couple of guys, and I just love being around them. And to me, that's success. We keep the vibration high. Every Wednesday is our packing day where we send out all of our orders, and it's actually our busiest day, and so you'd think we're just hustling all day, but that's the day that we dedicate an hour to actually play a game all together. And so on that day, we lift the vibration of the room and we have fun together. And for me,
imagine.
Yeah, for me, as an adult, it's so exciting to play, and that's what I love to do. Every single Wednesday you'll find the Farmerly Olympics is what it's called.
I love that. Well done.
The two Matts, please.
Double Matt, double trouble.
You're up first again.
Oh no.
Righto. Having the right team around you is key to farming, but it extends beyond the people on the farm. If you could say thank you to anyone, who would it be and why?
I could sit here for many, many hours and say thanks to a lot of people, but I'll keep it short and simple for you. It'd have to be my mum and dad, which sounds cliche. However, the risks they've taken to get the farm to where it is today, now as an adult, and I kind of have a bit more understanding of it, I am truly, truly grateful and thankful for them. Definitely don't say it to them as often as I should, being a typical male. But yeah, no, like they had zero money. They put everything they had into a $100,000 deposit onto 1,600 acre property. The advisors said, get out before whilst you can, you're too small, you know all the names of your sheep. Like, it's just not going to... Don't say that to mum and dad because they will try and prove you wrong. And they did. They put everything into the farm. They worked 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, whilst trying other jobs off farm to try and make some money whilst raising 3 boys. So that's a pretty tricky job for mum as well, in a nutshell. And yeah, they didn't spend money on themselves. They didn't go on holidays. They just put every blood, sweat, tears, and cent they had back into the farm, which was their passion, and they grew that from 1,600 acres in 1994 to 65,000 acres today. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here where I am today. And they put money into me going to a great school and supported me and my brothers in any way, shape or form. And for that, I am truly grateful because I've had a great childhood. I didn't feel like I missed out when I grew up. And yeah, that's because of all the sacrifices that they took. So if it wasn't for them taking all the risk and putting everything into growing the farm, I wouldn't be able to live the life that I do today and be able to do great, crazy things. Like right now, I'm off here gallivanting in Adelaide having fun, and they're at home, staying up late, doing the work. So still to this day, they're in their 60s and they're still putting the work in, which...
You got it sorted.
Yeah, I've got it sorted. How about yourself?
So for me, I guess a short story. I still remember the exact day when I'd sort of made up my mind, that's it, I've had enough of dryland wheat and sheep farming. Went home, it was just after harvest in December, it was probably, 46 degrees, howling dust storm. We were sitting inside and having lunch. I was talking to my wife, I said, I reckon we're going to go fish farming. And I remember she looked out the window and just thought, he has lost it. This bloke's gone. But yeah, certainly my wife and kids, this business that we've built wouldn't exist without them. It's been a labour of love, I suppose, and most of our memories are centred around our farm and what we do. It's been their lives for the last 15 years. I've got 4 boys, and they all help around the farm when need be. Certainly it wouldn't be what it is today without my wife. She's a stay-at-home mum, but she pretty much runs the business without. She allows me to sort of get up in the morning, and I can't sit still most days, so I'm up and gone. And she's a cook, she's a washing, cleaner, buddy, sports coach, running kids around, doing our bookwork, financial manager, counsellor, everything. I just grow fish, so my job's easy. So certainly my wife would be the biggest one, and my kids, and
One thing I'd also want to mention that I completely forgot until I saw the photo is Mum and Dad never got any recognition for the work they did until in 2025 they were voted as WA Australians of the Year, which is a huge thing for our family. But for me as a son to see them finally get recognition, 30 or so years later was a very, very special moment for our family as well.
Yep. Good job.
I'm so glad that this is being filmed so that Mum and Dad can finally hear, and your wife can finally hear. We have to find ways of getting those messages to them, despite you being male. Hannah.
Ooh. Life sometimes has sliding doors moments. If you weren't farming, what alternative career would you be doing? Let me show you. I had to keep this a secret till this bit, but I was working as a professional opera singer until COVID hit. It was my first tour in the lead role as a professional, and then it got cut short because of the pandemic. And that was when we made the flip to the potato farming. But I had to keep that a secret. But farming is so similar to the arts and to opera in so many ways, because had I been tense when I was singing that, there would have been sound that came out, but rather than being less alive, it would have sounded louder. But you wouldn't have felt that little thing in your body that you felt. And that's kind of like what we feel in farming. We listen to the land, we read her vibration, we're looking at the soil. We've heard so much about the soil tonight. And if we force that, we're fighting it. Rachel talked to us about how she had to, Mother Nature just sort of came and she had to surrender. And that is very much working in with the vibration of the land. And that's very much similar to singing as well.
Hannah, who appreciates your singing the most? The cows, the pigs, or the chickens?
All of them.
Oh.
And Tim. I think Tim appreciates me.
I bet you have them under your spell. Come, herd, with me. Derek.
Thank you. How come I drew that straw, you mop? Coming after that. It's wonderful. The next question is to the group. How do we continue to grow this food movement, and how do we progress change? That's for everyone to answer.
Oh.
Who's going to go?
I'll start. I think a big thing is new skill sets, and you know, you're new to farming and you've got really different ideas, Hannah, on how you'll design a farm and even interact with consumers. You're not thinking, right, how do I sell to Woolworths? It's you created a Facebook event that had a phenomenal following. And I think that's exactly what needs to happen, is we need new skill sets and new ideas. I think technology is an open gate for these different skill sets. So anyone in the room, there was only a few farmers that put their hands up earlier, but anyone in the room, if you wanted to jump into it, you can. And so I think that is going to be the most important thing to keep our food systems alive in Australia and thriving.
I totally agree. Thing I'd love to add is a lot of people, I get the question a fair bit of, you know, I don't own a farm, I live in the city, what the hell, but I love the thing that you and your family do and other farmers alike, but what can I do to help? Like, how do I have an input in this to help make this change for farmers and for our population? And at the end of the day, to be honest, the people in the city, the consumers, they have the biggest, I guess, power out of everyone, because us farmers do the work, but the consumers are the one who have the purchasing power. And you're able to use your purchasing power to make the change, because at the end of the day, the farmers and the industry will follow the demand. So if the consumers are demanding for a certain type of produce, so if it's a certain type of regenerative produce or some type of sustainable product, the industry will follow suit. Like, that most of them just care about money. So they're just going to follow where the money is going. So use your purchasing power to your best of ability and support the farmers that you do know that are trying to make a difference or grow in a regenerative or sustainable manner of some sort. And yeah, that's your wallet.
I also think events like this and telling the stories, like, I'm blown away coming and meeting you guys, and like, you know, realistically, you and I are probably the only two generational farmers here. We've got an entrepreneur and an opera singer and an actress here, which is just like, oh, you know, I've grown up in a very traditional farming community that, you know, everyone you know is a farmer or works on a farm or works in a business that's related to servicing farms. So like, this has even, you know, been in farming my whole life, and this event alone has opened my eyes to, you know, what's going on. And your comment, I know you might want to reiterate the age gap in sort of the two different types of farming.
Yeah. In the US and in Australia, the average age of a farmer is mid-60s, and most of them are getting out because children aren't coming back to the farm, and fair enough, it's not that of an attractive lifestyle. You work your ass off for no money. However, regenerative farms, their average age is 35. It's a completely different demographic and a lot more attractive for younger generations to come back to. So, yeah.
I think you guys, just offer a different perspective to it, and getting that story out that it's not, you don't have to inherit a farm to be a farmer as such. I think that's pretty cool. And I think, having that story out there is good. I might put a Facebook out for some fishing.
I think as humans as well, and as consumers and farmers, we have to see that something can be different, but that's in our mindset. We have to believe that it's going to be different. And something that I would ask as a collective is, I actually want people to stop feeling sorry for farmers. And that might sound jarring. On the news, we see, the poor farmer, they're struggling and they're doing it really tough. And when we get questioned by the media, that's what we hear. That's what they try and sort of get us to say. But what I would ask as a collective is, I want you to feel excited for farmers. And when we put that intention into the world, when we are feeling proud of our farmers and excited and can see the future collectively, sometimes it has to be with a bit of delusion. But when we put that intention into the world, that is what is going to set and train our actions. And that's what I'm really excited to be, and that's what I would love to see for the world.
Very nice.
Have you got an answer?
Okay.
One more.
Oh, where's the... Oh, sorry. Derek, most important.
Yeah, look, sustainable farming is in our blood. We have been undertaking sustainable practice for a long, long time. And it is absolutely important that we continue to learn and grow. I believe Australian farmers are some of the best farmers in the world. As far as regenerative farming is concerned and sustainable farming. And I moved from a traditional Western style of farming into harvesting kuri because we saw this opportunity to be involved in an industry that we were involved with forever. And we were going to provide a protein source into the community that we wanted to harvest sustainably. And we want to do that as we've done it for 50,000 years, and we want to do it for the next 50,000 years. And so to be up here with these guys, to hear what they're doing, and I was talking to Matt, and he was talking about Murray Cod. Well, Murray Cod is an icon species. It is a species from our perspective that is very strong in our creation story, and it's important. It's a species that's important to us, and we don't want to see them disappear. And what was happening in our country in the last 30 years, the ecological decline has been greater than any other time in history. And so what we understand is the ecological character is connected to our cultural character, and we see a decline in that cultural understanding, and it concerns us. But what I'm buoyed by is, and have much hope in, is the new group of farmers coming through, and the stats you gave me earlier on about 35, the average age of farmers that are undertaking a sustainable way of farming is really important, and that means we're in good hands, I believe.
I think too. I think two collectives that bring together, that challenge the supply chains and the retailers of industrial farming, if we can become more powerful and we can, reach a wider consumer base, all of those will start to change. I mean, I think it'd be wonderful if my little farm through didn't work anymore because Woolworths had finally seen the light, or not their sponsors, but Coles had finally seen the light, and And we went out of business because everybody is farming regeneratively, everybody is looking after their land, everybody is looking after their animals better. And yes, I think we need to strengthen those collectives to take on the power of the big corporate industrial farming, and give us a way of which we can actually get a better dollar for our product, because at the moment we're just so at the whims of the markets, and we are one of the only people in industry that are price takers, not price makers. So we depend totally on what the markets are doing and what the weather's doing, and we have no control of it. So if we can actually dictate what we get paid through these collectives, I think that will be a bit of a game changer. Right. Rachel, farming is a story of love. Tell us about your love story. That's a hard one. Well, my love story really is about Australia. Because when you're a migrant, you have such a deep connection to your old country. And I have found that it took a very, very long time for me to feel like this country was giving me the same as what my old country was doing. And I still very much hankered after it. I hankered after the culture. I hankered up after family and friends. I hankered after the country. I hankered after all of that nostalgia, those wildflowers, the birds, everything. And it didn't really resonate with me being here until I started farming. And when I started farming, I fell in love with Australia. And it was taken me a very long time. I've been here since I was 25. I'm now in my late 60s. And so it really was the farming that enabled me to get close enough to fall in love with it, really. And now I wouldn't swap it for the world. So... Georgia.
I'm on. Now, if everyone could please get to their feet and gather at the front. What I would love is, one at a time, please share one hope you have for the future. Maybe we start with you, Matt.
Start with me. All right. One thing I hope for the future is that farming, one, becomes an attractive industry for young people, and two, it becomes an affordable industry for young people, because at the moment, at least in the cropping side of things, it is really, really tough for farmers out there, and I feel for them.
If you want to go. But Hannah can go first. You can read that. It's a love letter.
Oh, look, one thing is, I think would be unification. I think as a country, there's been, lots of issues. I think culture wars have been, hoisted upon us in recent times. I think there's been some difficulty in who we are, but I believe that I live in the luckiest country in the world, and I just think that coming together, understanding, different cultures, understanding each other, there will be an opportunity for us to go forward and be world leaders. Because at the moment, I just feel like there's lots of turmoil around the place, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
My hope for the future is that we will go beyond feeding each other, feeding ourselves, and we'll use our ancient wisdom to nourish ourselves. That's my hope for the future.
Yeah, mine's pretty simple, I guess. My hope is that when I guess I retire or they're no longer around, that we've left our farming land and the land that or the businesses that we've built in a better state and a more sustainable state for our kids and other generations to come.
I'd like to see a real diminishment of industrial farming for animals. And I'm talking about feedlots and pig and chicken factories. I want to eat meat, but I want to honour the animal with the best possible life it could have had before it gives its life to me or us.
My hope is that we get closer to our food. Everything you're buying, know where it comes from. Every purchase and every dollar is a vote.
Sun will rise, sun will fall. Lighting up the sky, what's in the hole. And we're here to face it all, pulling out the roots, putting down our own. Tiny fledgling shoots, pushing through dirt and stone. And they're only gonna grow. Sun hangs high, drenched with sweat. Days slipping by, darling, don't you fret. 'Cause the table's just been set. Feeling nourished now. Did you spill the wine? We have flourished now, passion mixed with time. And you're always on my mind. Sun hangs low, such a great life it was. A golden glow on all our golden days, and we drink in its last rays. The mulch feeds the soil, carbon feeds the plants. Return to soil or the space between the stars. Till then, join in the dance, my love. Sun hangs high, sun hangs low. To go, and they're only gonna grow. And we're only gonna grow.
Well done.